All right, hello everyone. I think it's all recording now. We're setting up a recording of our midwinter heavenly journey, our midwinter ascension. Right now you're hearing some music from John Carter, really wonderful guy that sent a lot of music for us. I'll be playing some of his music later. And we're going to get started in just a minute. I'm just making sure everything's recording as it's supposed to before I start doing anything else. Funny story, the reason why I'm recording this right now, many of you know or might have been on our live Zoom call, which happened January 30th, and that was a Thursday night, and we had a great Zoom call. It was a lot of fun. Did a whole Let's Go Meet Winter Together experience, and then it was, had a great group of people on. Melissa was right here. The kids were in the room, and we did all of that. We had a great journey into the heavens together to meet Winter, and then we got done, and Melissa and I were talking, and we were going, okay, how'd that go, and what happened, and we were just commenting on it. And I was so engrossed in that conversation that I accidentally deleted everything, including the video that I had just recorded from that wonderful time that we all had together on that January 30th night. And so, of course, immediately after we got done, there's a lot of people that couldn't be on that night. And so they said, are you going to post a recording? And I said, sure, I think we're going to have to re-record one. So this one isn't the live version that we did. This isn't the recording of our Thursday night Zoom with this amazing group of people online, everybody going to heaven together at the same time. This is a recording that we are doing completely separate, and we're just going to recreate as much of that as possible. Just kind of like we did, if any of you remember our Christmas in the Heavens, live stream that we did. I talked about Christmas for about 10 or 15 minutes or so, and then we went to heaven together. We're going to do something similar right now. I'm just going to share with you the thoughts that I shared with the group about winter just a few nights ago. And then Melissa's over there. She's going to join me in a little bit when we start to go to heaven together. And we're just going to do pretty much everything we did with the live group just recorded. So I thought just to start by telling you why we do these, right? Why did we do a midwinter ascension? And the answer is really simple. Experiencing heaven and experiencing times and seasons in the heavens has been life-changing for me. So the more that I've gotten in touch with how much all of creation is designed to feed into us and to pour into humanity so that humanity can grow up into this calling that we have to be in God's image, the more that that's become a reality, the more I feel like everything that's going on around me in nature, I need to stop and take part in and recognize, and that includes all of the times and the seasons. And of course, winter is a season. It's a really important season of life. If you're like me, then the hardest part of sitting down to even watch this heavenly journey, whenever it is that you're watching it, is just making the time to do it. So I've had a really busy season of life since Christmas, and I have a hunch that's a lot of you too. I think life just in America just really takes off. As soon as Christmas is over, it's like we've had that holiday, and then it's just like we go after it. Everyone just gets really busy really quickly. We follow, especially in our country, Western civilization, this developed nation, we follow a consumer calendar, right? So we're getting ready for Christmas, and really the beginning of winter is just December 21st. That's like the winter solstice. That starts the season of winter, and Christmas is just a few days after the winter solstice. And we go through Christmas, and it's all wintry, and we're all feeling the season. And then as soon as Christmas is over, if you just go to the stores, it's like, okay, we bought all that stuff. We consumed winter stuff, and the stores have already started putting out things that are making you think spring, spring, spring. And so it's very rushed, and it's rushed because of that consumer calendar, right? It's that you consumed winter stuff, then the stores are like, okay, they're done buying that. Now we got to get the spring stuff out so we can get everybody into buying spring stuff mode. And that's kind of how it works around here. Now, that's obviously not great. I don't think you're listening to this going, wow, that's how it should be. Obviously, that's not how it should be. Winter is a 3-month-long season, right? I mean, all the seasons are 3 months long. There's 4 of them, 3 months, 12 months. So they're all 3 months long. And so, end of December to the end of January is not winter. Winter goes on through February and then through, I think, 2/3 of March. It's March 21st where the winter is officially over and we get into the spring equinox. Now, all that to say, it's important to know kind of the way society rushes us and kind of pushes us away from stopping and slowing down and participating with time the way that I think God wants us to, and the way that I think would get us more in touch with nature and creation, and actually get us more in touch with our role in nature and creation. Help us understand all the things that heaven wants to pour into us so that we can grow up into the image in which we were created. Now, just as a fun little, like a metaphor here, think of a metronome. So if you've ever seen a metronome, it's like that little pyramidal kind of thing that sits on top of the piano, and people use it to keep time, especially when they're learning how to play the piano. And the thing goes back and forth and it tick-tocks, and it always does the tick-tock when the arm of the metronome hits right in the middle. So it goes tick-tock, tick-tock, right, just like that. And it swings over to this side, and then it swings over to this side. Now, what I'm just telling you is because in my own life, in my own personal journey in the Spirit, I took some time to try to get in touch with winter. And so I had this conversation with the Father about it, partly because I was feeling it rush by. And I just thought, I got to stop and figure out what is heaven celebrating in this season, and how can I be a part of that celebration? And so I'm having this conversation with the Father and with winter. And in just a little bit, we're going to go to heaven. We're all going to meet winter together. It's going to be tons of fun. But I was having this conversation with this angelic being that personifies winter. If you've ever heard me talk, you know that there's a lot of connection between nature and what we think of as the world of the angels. That's the way the vast majority of human history is. And so, when we go to heaven in just a little bit, you're going to have to get ready for Narnia, right? It's like winter coming to life in the form of a spiritual being that we would think of as like part of that angelic order, part of that angelic realm. And so I'm having this conversation with Father God and with what I saw as Lady Winter. Not going to lie, there was a little Elsa kind of going on there from Frozen too, but everybody's allowed to see winter differently. And so I'm having this conversation, and Winter says to me, she gives me this metronome, I think I'm using that word right, that this metaphor, right, of this metronome going back and forth. And she says, think of winter and summer as these extremes, like when it sways way over here to summer and then way over here to winter. That's when the metronome is as far as it's going to be this way and as far as it's going to be this way. And Winter says to me, it's in those times of years when we're in the extremes that we're really drawn, not necessarily like laterally to what's going on around us right now, but it's almost like we're drawn to the past and the future. I'm not surprised that it's during winter that this Christmas/New Year's song, Auld Lang Syne, which is like kind of like I think an old Scottish Gaelic way of saying like an old long time ago. So for Auld Lang Syne, my dear, for Auld Lang Syne, like it's almost like in those seasons, you're drawn to the future and to the past. It's almost like you're drawn to what's above you, like the heavens above, the waters below. Think like heavens below. Don't think like dark underworld. Think future and past. Think what's above you and below you on the earth, what's surrounding us in all of this sense. It's almost like you're drawn vertically like this in those seasons. And so your attention is almost like you're drawing from what has been and you're thinking about what's coming. When that metronome hits those middle moments, that's what we would call the equinoxes, the spring and the vernal, or the spring and the fall equinox. No, vernal is spring, autumnal is the fall. So you get these two equinoxes. That's when the metronome makes its tick-tock, which really keeps the time here. So it's in those moments that your attention is really focused on the right now, and it's really focused about what's going on the earth in this really lateral sense of thinking about it. Think about your most connected times to the earth. spring, when everything's blooming and you're planting, and fall, when everything is now produced its fruit and you're harvesting. The most earthy times of year tend to be that spring and fall, very focused on what's on the earth right now. Summer and winter, kind of what's happened and what's about to happen. I've read some philosophers that talk about what happens when you sleep and you dream, and I'm not vouching for this at all. I just thought it was interesting that sometimes people wonder, like, when you dream, are you connecting with like this collective consciousness? Like, it's almost like all of us, everybody that's dreaming together, we're very unified. Humanity's very unified, and maybe that's why you dream things about another part of the world. And hey, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I just think it's a neat thought. This idea that when you're dreaming, you're conscious, but you're conscious in a different way. Maybe it's more of a unity kind of conscious thing. Again, I don't know if that's true or not. I'm sure we all have very individual dreams as well. But just imagine the earth in winter. The earth itself, it's like it's sleeping, it's hibernating. So think of that time as almost like the earth itself is dreaming. It's gone into a sleep. Everything gets more still. Now, we live in Florida. Doesn't get that still here. Things slow down a little bit as far as nature. Leaves do come off trees. Lots of things still grow because it's Florida. Farther up north you go, there is, it gets even more still. There's more stillness. Things, all the leaves come down. It gets very quiet. There's less colors. It's more of like a grays and whites and blacks, like that kind of a landscape. Everything almost goes into that dreamlike state. It's a great time of year to slow down. It's a great time of year to consider, not just what has gone on in the last year of your life, but also what's coming, what's being dreamed of. It hasn't even been planted yet. It hasn't even been conceived of yet. It's not even a seed yet that's gone into the ground. It's just a dream. And right now, it's just a dream. Nothing is even, been put in the soil so that it will germinate and produce fruit. It's just dreams. It's like, what is God dreaming about right now? How are we involved in those dreams with the Lord? And for that matter, what is creation dreaming about as well? And how are we a part of that? Just a little bit about what goes on in winter. Personally, I think it's time to try to slow down a little bit. And I'm telling you that knowing full well that it's been an incredibly busy season of life for me. Christmas break was wonderful. I remember doing our Christmas in the Heavens Zoom. That was so much fun. So great to connect with people over that holiday and to celebrate it in the heavens together. Man, we got done with Christmas and I jumped into so much stuff. And then I think, I was thinking personally, I don't want the season to go by before we have had a chance to go to heaven together again to celebrate winter, just like we did with Christmas. It's not the same kind of thing, right? It's after Christmas. That was a great holiday. Winter's a season. And for us to go meet winter as a spiritual being, this personification of the season of winter, and to have a conversation with the Lord in an environment that celebrates that, I think the more we do that, all of us together, the more connected we become with this garden that God wants us to step into and to demonstrate true human kingship in. Now, again, we had a great night a few nights ago. I deleted the video. We're going to do it again in just a minute. I think Melissa's going to come join me whenever she's ready, and she's going to come sit here with us because we're going to go to heaven again. And I'm going to put on some music, and we're going to, I'm even going to put some images up on the screen too. You won't have to stare at us the whole time. Where's Melissa? Here. All right, hey, here she is. There we are. So Melissa, this is the recording because your husband, he pressed a lot of wrong buttons.
Yeah.
Thursday night. And and I pressed a lot of buttons in general Thursday night because Zoom was asking me to personally admit every person that wanted on the call. So I had admitted close to 100 different people. I have to keep telling them that it's okay for them to come in. I have no idea why Zoom asked me to do that.
Yeah.
And then we got done and I pressed all the wrong buttons again.
Okay.
Yeah, it was okay.
We have another chance to go to heaven.
We do, which is good for us.
Yeah.
because we'll take it, right?
Yes.
And Isabel's waving. She's over there. Isabel's over there. She's not going to come on camera, but Isabel's over there. Isabel and Samuel were here during the Zoom, and they were like quiet mice because they knew Daddy was recording and they knew to be super quiet. But they were there, and Isabel's here today up here in our little, our wonderfully effective little studio that we created here to do things like this.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, I'm just going to turn that like
so
that.
I
Now,
think what we should do is just invite everybody into our home and just extend the warmth out of our hearts and grace from our heart to your heart, and just imagine yourself. We imagine you in our living room because we want to be that close to you. And I heard Winter say, slow down, breathe deep, and let me speak to you.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
So that's what we're going to do. We're going to slow down, breathe deep, go to heaven together, and let Winter talk to us.
Let's do it.
Okay. Here's what we're going to do. It's exactly what I did the other night when we did it live. I want to take you someplace that we're all going to go to together. To me, it's like the winter cabin. Mm-hmm. I want to take you there. I want you to experience the presence of the Lord there. Before we're done, we're going to have some opportunities to meet Winter. What you're going to see me do is after we kind of get there, I'm going to turn some music on, and I'm actually just going to put my desktop screen up because Melissa and I are going to be eyes closed going to heaven too, probably Isabel as well. And so you won't be staring at us. I'll put a little wintry scene up there. Trick of the trade here. On a recording, this works great. Pause the video, right? Like if we're moving on to the next thing, because I'm like keeping it moving, but you're like, no, wait. Jesus and I are having this great conversation in the cabin. Pause the video and hang out as long as you want. You can always go back and watch the rest another day.
Right.
So you're not in a hurry. You're not in a rush. The recordings work really well that way.
Yeah.
And so what you just need to do is uncork your imagination. You hear us talk about this all the time, that your imagination is the eyes of your heart. That's what you're going to use to do this when you go to heaven with us right now. So let your imagination do the work. Uncork it. Let it do all the work for you so that you can just trust what it's shown you. Trust those first impressions. You can test the fruit later. So what I want you to do, hopefully you're somewhere, you got a journal nearby. You might want to write some stuff down. Again, you might pause the video, take some notes. Okay, Lord, this is what I hear you saying. Otherwise, just be in a good spot where now you can kind of close these eyes and open the eyes of your heart. And what I want you to do is I want you to start imagining right now being in a beautiful log cabin. And if you've ever been in like a really cool one, they can have those big ceilings, and you'll see the wood rafters going across the ceiling. Mm-hmm. Really, those big wood beams. I want you to imagine you're standing in like kind of like the big living room of a big log cabin, and it's like you're facing that one wall that has this fireplace, and it's where the ceiling goes up to the point. And there's a big stone fireplace on that wall, and you're good like 20 feet away from, just so you can kind of get the picture. Big stone with all those gray stones, big stone fireplace, roaring fire in the fireplace. And then I imagine wood floors in this cabin, and you can just imagine a big rug covering a lot of that wood floor. Couches on either side, like they'd face each other. Like you could walk between them towards that fireplace, like those couches are facing each other. And then if you're facing that fireplace, you look out to the left, there's like these big French doors and a lot of windows over there. And you look out into this beautiful, snowy winter landscape. Lots of evergreen trees, lots of snow. And if you kind of walked outside from there, you wouldn't walk that long. You could probably see it from this cabin. There's a river flowing like the direction, like in the same, if you're facing the fireplace, whatever direction that is, there's this river flowing down. It's got like it's not like rapids, but it's like a more than a babbling brook. It's a rolling river, and it's not frozen, but I bet it is ice cold. And so you can see that river over there, and it kind of curves around. And this cabin, this whole scene is in this beautiful winter valley. This is the place I've been going to talk to Winter. And so just let yourself be there right now. Now, what I want you to do first, while I kind of change the screen and turn some music on, you're still going to hear my voice, But I just want you to go, okay, where am I in this picture right now? So that's your first question, is just, Lord, where am I in this picture? Where are you going to locate yourself? In fact, the way that you can even ask it is you can just say, where would I want to be? Would I want to be inside the cabin by the fireplace? Exactly where do I think I would be in this picture? You don't have to make it hard. Here's a little bit of music for us. I'm just going to leave that like that. I'm just going to set it up so we can do this together. I'm going to share this screen for you, like so. And I'm just going to put a scene up for us to look at. There we go. Now, you're seeing the cabin right now. Melissa and I are going to be right here. We're going to be going to heaven with you. You'll hear me talking to you. And again, all you want to do at first is just ask yourself, okay, where am I in this picture? And you just trust your first impressions. Just let yourself be there. Where am I in this picture? I mean, my first impression was I was sitting on one of the couches, fireplaces off to my left. Those doors and that wintry scene and that river are back behind me. And again, all we're doing here at first is just slowing down enough that, you can just let yourself be here. And you might even just want to verbalize to yourself where you think you are in this scene. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start working through our senses. We're going to let as much of ourselves be up there as possible. And me and Melissa are just going to do this too. We're going to trust our first impressions. What do we think we smell? Wherever it is that we are in this scene right now. What is it? Your first impressions. First impressions of a sense of smell.
So I'm sitting outside actually on the porch in a big swing, a front porch swing, and I smell just the almost like ozonated air. It's so fresh.
Yeah. Really fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, for me it was the wood burning smell. And I smelled vanilla in the house, which is just always a fun smell. I love vanilla. And citrus. I feel like I smell citrusy things in the house too, in the cabin. Once you work through those sense of smells, your next sense would just be sounds. What do you hear? What do you imagine you can hear in this place right now? First sounds that come to mind, don't overthink anything here. Just your first impressions. And if you're like me, you're probably already jumping ahead. You're seeing things. Things are already going on in this cabin, but it's okay. We're going to take it slow. First impressions of your sounds. I had almost like a children's choir singing somewhere. The faint sound of wind chimes outside. Of course, the crackling of the fireplace. I think that was about it for me. Once you work through those first impressions of sounds, try a touch sensation. reach out and touch something. Feel something that's around you, or just what's the feeling of the air on, like on your person, or touch the clothes that you're wearing, whatever it might be, but just get a tactile sense of something. And again, it's just your first impressions. Don't write anything off as being silly or unspiritual. One of the things that I felt is that almost like sitting on a table between those couches was this like decorative thing of silver apples, and I picked up one of those silver apples, and I was just like holding that in my hand. And I could feel kind of the metal of it, that silver metal. And again, feel free to pause if you need to, but if you have your senses, you kind of let some of those senses in. The next question is, Lord, where are you in this picture? And just really trust your first impressions. You can mumble that out loud. Lord, where are you in this picture? If you're outside or you're inside the cabin, what's your first impression about where you sense the Lord? And this could be like any part of the Godhead. This could be Father God. This could be Messiah. Melissa and I, and a lot of you have started interacting with the Holy Spirit as Mother. This could be Holy Mother in the cabin or outside. Whatever that is, just whatever part of the Godhead you're seeing or sensing, trust your first impressions and verbalize to yourself where you see the Lord in this picture.
I saw Jesus and I sitting together on the swing, and we were looking out in front of us at the snowy scene, and we hear something, and it's the hooves, of a horse. And then we hear something it's dragging a sled, like there's a sled, and it's pulled by a big Clydesdale horse. And so we got off the swing together, and we're just petting the horse and enjoying his beauty.
What color was the horse, just out of curiosity?
He was white.
Oh, wow.
With some like lighter tan colors, so
yeah,
some shades of tan and
nice.
Light brown.
That's beautiful. This is the same for me as it was on Thursday. I could see Messiah sitting across the couches on the other side, and he looked like the King of Winter, like he was still in his all-white garb, dark curly hair, dark beard, and his crown looked like bleached white antlers. Like the crown was made of antlers. It was just a really cool, like foresty, wintry king kind of picture. I'd never seen him like that until when we did this live, of course, and now now I really enjoy seeing him like that in winter, especially that antler crown. It's like in some ways reminiscent of the crown of thorns, but it's like the redemptive crown of thorns. It's beautiful and regal and powerful, and I'm not gonna lie, pretty masculine. So that's how I saw him. Wherever you are with whatever part of the Godhead you're interacting with, be close. Be as close as you can be right now. And then once you're close, like think close enough to touch here, we're just gonna start asking some questions and letting the Lord just sort of speak to us about winter. As I mentioned, winter is a time of year where the earth itself is getting still, and the earth lets go of things, like leaves fall to the ground. It's almost like the earth lets the dead things fall to the ground. So wherever you are in this scene right now, be close to the Lord. If you got to pause to take time to do that, that's fine. And then when you get close, just ask the Lord, what is it this winter that I need to let go? I need to let it fall to the ground. What do I need to let go of? Just take a moment, ask the Lord that question. We'll pop back in a minute here. And again, try to trust your first impressions. I mean, I'm just being honest with you as these recordings always feel like I get stuff and I have to be honest about it with you, but I am discovering in the last couple of days how I'm carrying stress. And I felt like right off the bat, he said, you just need to come here and relax. You need to let the stresses go and release that to me. And so when you feel like he's telling you something like that, take the time to actually let it go. Tell him what you're going to give, what you're going to let fall to the ground this winter. Just let the season just take it and let it go into the past, just like the leaves do when they fall from the trees. When you feel like you're ready after that, just ask the Lord too how you can celebrate winter. With how would you join with heaven in celebrating this season? What is it that heaven would tell you, like, this is a great way for you to celebrate this season, just the way that like God has designed it to happen, right? So it's supposed to pour into us. Every aspect of nature, every aspect of this garden is supposed to pour into us. How can we be a part of that celebration this winter? Take a moment, just direct that question to the Lord, whatever part of the Godhead you're talking to, and trust your first impressions.
I heard Jesus say, let winter remind you of your restored innocence. So the purity of the snow and the stillness of the earth, and that you don't toil and you don't labor, that the price was paid.
Mm-hmm.
And just to remind you of that restored innocence that Christ came for.
So for you, restored innocence is the way to celebrate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like he told me, he's like, I'm ready to enjoy outside during winter time with you more. Mm. And he said, especially like taking walks at night. Mm. And I felt like he said, go out there and enjoy the moonlight. And it was interesting when we did this call live a few nights ago, I felt like then he told me, like, write, like it's winter, sit down and write. Yeah. Don't let it be March 21st and you haven't written anything yet. Yeah. And I really took that to heart. And I'm going to take this to heart too when he's saying, get out, he said the words, I'm ready to enjoy outside at winter with you, like to be out when it's cold.
And I think mine was more about, whenever you're out in winter, just allow winter to tend to you restored. Yeah. Your restored innocence. Like, receive that.
Yeah.
You know?
Right on.
Energy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's do this. We want to do something else too as far as celebrating winter. And you can take this conversation with the Lord as long as you want to. But one other thing we wanted to do is interact with winter as an actual spiritual being. And in just a second, I'm gonna change the scene on the screen, but I'm also gonna let me and Melissa come back for a moment too. So let me make this go away for a minute. Actually, just stop sharing that. There we are. We're back. We were here with you the whole time. Hey, don't lose where you are in the spirit. But before we're done, we want to interact with winter as something that is very much alive and has a voice. And I told you at the beginning, you got to get ready for Narnia here, right? I want you to experience winter in this cabin and in this snowy mountain valley scene like you would in Narnia, like to meet winter, which to me is like Lady Winter, but that may not be how you meet winter. And to experience some of the ways that nature kind of comes alive. So what I want you to do in just a minute is I want you to, again, you're going to, be right where you're left off, wherever you're having that conversation with the Lord. And I'm just going to set up this introduction for you so that you have a chance to do this if you haven't already. So wherever you are, again, you're going to close the eyes of your heart, close these eyes, but open the eyes of your heart. And just look at the Lord and just go, Lord, would you introduce me to the spiritual being called winter? And I want to encourage you here, don't shut off your imagination. I'm sure it would be fun to see like a snowflake that talks to you, but most human beings, we want to relate to these spiritual beings almost more like mythology than we do like some kind of ambiguous yellowy or not yellow, don't do yellow snow, but like a white snow. Like never do the yellow snow.
Don't drink. Don't touch.
Yeah, like the white snow. I mean, sure, you could be with the snow and the snowflakes could talk to you. That's cool. I'm not diminishing that. But I think your imagination wants to put a form to winter. Let it. Let it be a little mythological. That's not going to cause any problems. I see winter as very much like Lady Winter, and I'll describe that more later. So here's what I want you to do. Again, close these eyes, open the eyes of your heart. Wherever you were with the Lord, I want you to ask for that introduction. But when you do, I'm going to just set this up for you and kind of turn you loose for a minute. When you do, there are animals around here at this cabin that I have seen that will talk to you, not unlike the animals in Narnia. And there's one in particular that if you see him, I don't want you to be surprised. You weren't seeing it wrong. I have seen out here in this mountain valley a big white wolf. And he's got this big white mane, and he's so kind. I mean, he's this strong white wolf. And he seems to, like this Lady Winter, seems to really embody the season. And I have so enjoyed being around him. I know him by a name. I'm not going to tell you because you might want to be introduced to that white wolf too. And so it's almost like I'm kind of giving you like two paths. Remember those books where you could choose your own adventure? This is kind of like that, You can choose the path that you're going to go on here. You can go talk with Lady Winter, or you can go see the white wolf, whatever the case may be. And you can ask the Lord if there's one or the other that you'd like to go talk to, or it could be something completely different. When we did this live, people were already seeing that wolf. And when I started to say it, they were like, I saw him there. Yeah, I mean, that's normal. That's okay. So I'm just going to put up another little wintry scene. Melissa and I are going to do this with you. And yeah, so let me just do this again, wherever you are. Don't be shy. You're going to see here like this. I'm going to share my screen with you. And here we go in just a minute. There we are. Everything's still recording. Very good. I just put a picture of him up that I found that was not copyright protected, so we're okay there. But it's kind of what he looks like when I see him going through this winter scene. So wherever you are with the Lord, I really want to encourage you right now. You can ask, would you introduce me to the spiritual being, to this angelic being that personifies winter? And if you want to go outside and meet this white wolf, feel free to do that too. But let this place be as creative, dare I say magical, certainly mythological, but really Christ-centered. Just let that happen the way that it's supposed to in this place. And just enjoy meeting Winter for a few moments. Melissa and I are going to do that too. And after a couple minutes, we'll chime in and tell you what we experienced while we did this, and maybe kind of make some closing thoughts. Remember, your best friend here is to trust your imagination, trust your first impressions. You can test the fruit later. That's always what you want to do. But trust your imagination, trust your first impressions. Let your imagination do the work here. Have this conversation with Winter. If you find that you're meeting some personification of Winter, maybe that's Lady Winter, maybe that's like a wintry father, you kind of figure out, lots of people see Winter as kind of like that old man Winter feeling too. That's great. Just whatever you're doing, verbalize it all out loud. I mean, talk to yourself, right? I mean, no one thinks you're crazy. You're just watching this recording right now. Just tell yourself what you're seeing and what you're experiencing. We're designed as human beings not to think of all these parts of nature and creation as inanimate objects that can't connect with us. We're designed to interact with them. We're designed to know their voice and to know their personality and to be able to see them with the eyes of our heart, the eyes of our imagination, as living spiritual beings. And so just let it, run with it. And if you're talking to Lady Winter or the White Wolf, and I joked when we did this live, it felt like a great name for a pub in England, the Wolf and Lady or something like that. Seems like that would be in London somewhere. But whoever you're talking to, and oftentimes both together, I see them together a lot. And just so you know, that's where I am. I went out of the cabin to go meet them, and there's Messiah and his winter forest king garb out there with us too, having a big celebration. It's tons of fun. Bonfires are involved. It's just a great scene. And wherever you are with the wolf or the lady or the wolf and the old man Winter, whoever is personifying Winter for you, just ask again the same kind of question. How can I experience winter this season the way that I'm designed as a human being to experience it? How can I really take advantage of this season of life that was created for us to help us grow up into God's image and into what God has planned for us and created for us? Just take another few moments to do that. Remember just to keep verbalizing to yourself out loud whatever it is that you're seeing and experiencing. Melissa and I are going to come back here. If you need more time for that, I really don't want to stop you. I want you to keep going. This is like a good time that if you want to pause what it is that you were experiencing because you're like, I'm really enjoying this and this is going good, you should feel free to do that. Maybe we can share a little bit about what we've been getting from experiencing winter before we go. You want me to go first? Yeah, that sounds good. I was out there in that snowy winter landscape, and of course, Messiah was out there too, and I felt like he told me, he just said, this season, I want you to take the time just to re-energize and to create hunger. He said, let winter make you hungry. Like, let it make you hungry so that when the next season comes, you're ready to go after everything that I've put in front of you. But it's almost like winter was there to generate this internal hunger. And then it was just, the rest of it was just enjoying the fact that these spiritual beings are alive, that they're here. And the fact that we're paying attention to them makes our life so much less of a calculation and so much less of just this consumer calendar of go do this and go do this, and just much more of you're participating with nature. Yeah.
And I just love that there's no distance and no delay.
Yeah.
And that they're reminding us of our restored innocence, our identity.
Yeah.
And that they have something to teach us.
Yeah.
About our identity.
Yeah.
Winter for me this season it's a really significant time in my life. I was baptized on January 17th, and I was married on January 17th, and my firstborn was born on January 29th. So it's almost like it's a new birthing for me every year. But this year in particular has been all about settling my mind.
Yeah.
So just giving the Lord the time to speak to me about lots of open loops that I had in my mind that were taking power from me.
Right.
That I didn't know that they were taking power from me, and sort of causing that inner state to be restless.
You mean just from all these things that like you're thinking about all the time?
And all these things that could be like 5 years old.
Right.
Like I want to do this better or that better. Just kind of loops that maybe goals that I had, and made an internal commitment with myself and said, I'm going to do this without even realizing I said I was going to do that. And so then that becomes this open loop. Yeah. Because you've made this internal commitment. And so the Lord just taking me through a process of sort of writing all those things down and really asking Him, is this a commitment that I need to make or not make? Yeah. And being able to close that with Him. Yeah. And I gotcha. So that my mind could be at rest, so that I can hear Him. Yeah. And what He wants to attend and what He wants to say to me. Do you think
for you, is that part of just slowing it down and letting the leaves that are supposed to fall?
I think so. Yeah. And for me, and you've seen this play out at home, I'm such a visual person that I oftentimes when I'm doing, I'm going through something in the spirit, I manifest it outwardly. So I have to pack up my office. Yeah. So that I'm only seeing, things that the Lord is working on with me, or we're talking about, so I've packed up a lot of different books. Yeah. 10 totes worth of stuff just to clear my visual space as well. But yeah.
All right. So you don't have to answer, but I'm just curious because we haven't done this. How when you imagine winter as a spiritual being, do you go feminine or masculine?
Feminine.
Is it little Elsa to you too? Like I see like platinum white hair and kind of like whites and blues and crystalline and icy kind of feel. And it just seems to meld into the ground. It's almost like she just kind of comes out of that. And oftentimes I see that white wolf walking next to her.
Well, I think, for me, it's more of the earth. So more of more maybe browns and greenery,
Right.
and just things like that.
It's
And
more earthy to you.
Yeah, and more nurturing.
Yeah,
I think
right.
because it's I can lean into her and receive nourishment.
Yeah.
And nurturing about
Yeah.
my restored innocence, really.
Yeah,
But,
for sure. Well, there's something about us going as a family when we do this. Like when we take part in this together and we let ourselves be in the heavens, and we let the eyes of our heart connect us with all the different parts of nature, like it affects the way that we live. Like it absolutely changes the way that we view our life and our world. It makes us do things we maybe wouldn't have done, if we were just rushing along with everything else.
Yeah, I think it changes our paradigm so that we view the world differently.
Yeah.
We have new thoughts and new ideas, and all of them are just the Lord reminding us of who we are, waking up. They're waking up thoughts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Anything else? Isabel,
so.
You got a shout out? There's anything you want to say? Winter's awesome, right? Your birthday's in winter.
Winter baby.
That works out all right. We do have a lot of wintry stuff that goes on in our family. Well, thanks for joining us. Again, it was fun. We got to re-record this because I pressed the wrong button, but I saw some different stuff and heard some different things. I would just encourage you, watch it again if you need to. Take the time to meet Winter. Don't walk through the world just the way that it is today with our kind of mechanical, scientific revolution world where everything's inanimate and seasons are just seasons because of the sun and the axis of the earth and all that. It's part of creation. It's part of nature. We're meant to interact with it. We're meant to see that Lady Winter. We're meant to see that white wolf when we're around the dinner table. We're meant to tune in with these spiritual beings. And if you're ever like, I'm not sure it's going to go right, always have Jesus as a chaperone. That's like the best thing to do. Just let Jesus be a chaperone with you. He'll walk you through the experience. You can have him introduce you to whoever you need to talk to. As always, keep in touch with us. We love to hear from you. You can email me. I'm just chris@discovertheheavens.org. You want to send an email to Melissa, just do chris@discovertheheavens.org, but say this is for Melissa, and I'll get it to her too. Our website's just discovertheheavens.org, and you can fill out a little contact request there as well. If you need to tell us anything, people send us poetry, their encounters, what they're experiencing in the spirit, and it's all really wonderful to hear. We love the community of it. Hey, next time we do a live stream together, I will try to press the right button, and it'll be the live version of it, and otherwise it'll be another one of these, which is fun too. So thanks for being with us as we experience winter together and do it from a heavenly perspective.
Yeah, thank you guys. Till the next time.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thanks for hanging out. Thank you, Isabel, sitting over there, hanging out with us. We love you guys. We'll see you all soon.